This is Jocko podcast number 380 with Echo Charles and me, Jocko Willink. Good evening, Echo.
Good evening.
So recently on the Underground podcast, I covered one quote from the I Ching, which is a ancient script, I Ching from China. And I means change. It actually looks like it says I. Mm-hmm. That means change. And Ching means script. So this book is commonly called the Book of Changes. Original author, unknown. It got modified over the years. Confucius, I think, is the most famous person that kind of added to it. Some other guy, another character / myth / legend, FuXi. And again, I'm not any kind of an expert on this stuff. I just wanted to kind of touch it from the surface here. But he created the Yin Yang symbol. Mm. So the Yin Yang is a symbol that everybody knows from, well, at least from Town and Country surfboards. TNC. But also it's just a common symbol. You see, it's in every cheesy martial arts movie, right? You get a little Yin Yang in there. Sure. It's in kind of new age spirituality. You'll get that yin and yang going. We've seen a lot of yin and yang tattoos, right? Sure. Especially from back in the day, I'm going to say 80s, 90s, so there was some yin yang tattoos. They could still be happening, but they were pretty popular back then. So we got that common symbol of yin and yang, and the story behind that is before the universe, before there was anything, there was just stillness and there was emptiness, and then these two energies, these two chi collided, made the universe. That's yin and yang. So in this book, I Ching, it's made up of these little characters, not language characters, but stacks of lines. Literally stacks of lines. A broken line is yin, and a solid line is yang. And these two, when you stack these lines, you can stack them in ways that represent the 8 fundamental natural parts of earth, really. Fire. So it's fire, water, wind, thunder. One of them says river, but I think it's like river, lake, maybe even ocean in there. Mountain, earth, and heaven. If you put these 3 things together, there's a way of writing this out. Just you're basically drawing lines, stacking lines. And here's where I'm getting with this. They made this thing for divination, which is the predicting of the future. So divination is something that we do in America, believe it or not. You ever drive down the road and you see like palm reader? Sure. That's divination. That's I'm going to predict the future. Or astrology, you read in the newspaper? Mm-hmm. That's divination. Like, I was born in October, so when the 7th moon is in the dark side, that means that I should move on my new, theories or whatever. Yeah, sure. Crystal ball. Yeah. Like, there's people that read crystal balls. That's called scrying. Mm. You can read mirrors. You can read crystal balls. Numerology. You ever heard about these people that would base their... I think Nancy Reagan was in a numerology where it's like, well, today is the 13th of this, 7th month, and therefore that equals 20, and 20 is my lucky number. So that, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Yeah, so all these things are called divination. And that's sort of what the I Ching has become in a way, or it became. And you end up with this thing where they call these things hexagrams, where basically it looks like 6 stacked lines, and it's all these different arrangements. And so you have these, so it's a solid line and a broken line. All right, so you have like a solid line or a broken line. Those are the 2 types of lines you can have. It's binary. You can have one or the other. And they stack these lines in different ways, and it means different things. Gotcha. So the top 3 lines might mean water, and the bottom 3 lines might mean earth. Mm-hmm. And from that combination, you can predict different things, right? That's what it is. So like, for instance, hexagram 5, which is waiting. But it's not just waiting, it's inner certainty. It leads to perseverance that brings good luck. So That's what it is. That's how this works. And what you end up with is really like a bunch of sayings. And you can do it with throwing coins. Again, to predict these things, I don't want to go too deep in this because, frankly, I'm not a believer. Okay,
I understand.
I'm not a believer in palm reading. I'm not a believer in astrology. I'm not a believer in this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I'm not a believer in throwing. They do it with pennies or with whatever coins, and like a head is one and a tail is something else, and that's how you can predict. So if you ponder your question and then you throw the coins, and then it tells you what kind of line to draw, and it's going to work it out for you. Okay, so again, I'm not into this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. There is some basic philosophical guidance in the I Ching that completely makes sense. That's why we covered. Look, I had some copy of it, and when we did one quote on the Underground podcast, and I was like, you know what? There is a lot of. I almost want to use the word wisdom, but I also just want to use the word common sense. And sometimes common sense and wisdom are very similar. They're very close to each other. Yeah. You know, when something seems like common sense, that person that's executing some real common sense moves probably has a decent amount of wisdom. Oh yeah. And some of these things in the I Ching represent some pretty good wisdom, and at the same breath, you could also say, well, that's common sense. Yeah. Hey, I get it, right? You can, and you know, this also boils down to like the old oracles. Yeah. You know, in ancient times, there would be oracles that would make prediction. Like the famous one is, you know, the big leader comes and says, should we go to war with the enemy? And the oracle says, if you go to war, a powerful nation will fall. Yeah. And so the person's like, oh, cool, we're going to win. Yeah. But it actually doesn't predict anything, right? Yeah.
Also, too, you mentioned the common sense thing where that is real, I think. I believe.
What is?
That the ancient wisdom is almost like it's rooted in common sense.
Yes.
So, like, you know, like the old school, what was it? I don't know who said it, I forget. But they said, do not kill mosquito with bazooka or something.
Yep, there you go.
It's like that kind of stuff.
Ancient wisdom
where it's like,
and common sense.
Yeah, but at the same time, so it seems like common sense.
Wait, in ancient times, did they have bazookas?
No. No, that was on, what was that movie with Sean Connery? Catherine Zeta. Anyway, Entrapment. Anyway, he said, do not kill mosquito with bazooka, right? Or whatever. Obviously, that was made up.
We didn't have that saying in the SEAL teams, by the way. It was like,
and it's like, yeah, everyone knows that. Overload. But at the same time, what that means probably applies to a bunch of things that, man, if you just stop and think, it's like, okay, you know, it can probably help you out in a lot of situations. It's like ancient, quote unquote, philosophy that applies. Yep. Sure, said simply, which is kind of part of the wisdom. Yes. Can apply to a bunch of things if you just stop and think.
So everything that you're saying right now is why when I read through the I Ching, I was like, you know what, this is worth covering because there's some quote ancient wisdom or quote common sense that if you utilize, it's going to help you. And look, could I be in the zone? Could you take what I kind of things that I say and turn it into a powerful divination that would help you? Like we could create some kind of a magic 8 ball.
Sure.
Remember that magic 8 ball?
Hell yeah.
Magic 8 ball, same thing, right? Yeah. Magic 8 ball is divination. We should have brought that up as a form of divination because you shake the magic 8 ball and it says the outcome is certain, right? And it just gives you these things that have no meaning. Yeah. But what's interesting about them is, let's say you were like, oh, should I, ask that girl on a date? And you shake and it says the outcome is certain. Dude, yeah, hell yeah. Yes, it's going to work. Well, the outcome also might be certain that she rejects you, but you don't really know that. You have a good attitude, so you go ask her out. She says yes. Maybe she says no. Yeah. But, we could make like a magic 8 ball with, ancient Jocko wisdom in it, right? And you shake the 8 ball and it says work hard. Yeah. That's a good answer. Like, well, hey, I'm really having a problem with my job right now. What should I do? Work hard. Oh, I'm really having a problem with my relationship right now. What should I do? Work hard. I'm really having a problem staying in shape right now. What should I do? Work hard. Be disciplined. Right? Oh, well, it just seems like I'm really having a hard time getting forward at my job. Be disciplined. Like, it's going to be a good answer.
Yeah.
Eat clean. Hey, I'm having a hard time getting focused. Eat clean. I'm having a hard time falling to sleep. Eat clean. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, these are just do jujitsu.
Yep.
What's funny about jujitsu? It's not sad. Like on the Underground podcast, when people have things going on in their life, at least 50% of the time, I have to throw in there do jujitsu because it's actually accurate.
Yeah.
It's going to make things better if you're doing jujitsu.
Yeah.
So eat clean, work hard, be disciplined, do jujitsu. Those kind of things you could put on a magic Jocko 8-ball and they would make sense and they would actually help you. They would actually help you.
Do not make excuses.
Do not make excuses. Boom, that's another one.
Yeah.
So those things. I mean, what would you say? What the opposite? Would you say like, hey, be lazy? Is that advice you're going to give someone? No. Or are you going to eat junk? You're going to tell that to someone? No, it doesn't make any sense. So there's a certain amount of common sense to these things, just like there's a bunch of common sense to stuff that I say, just like there's a bunch of common sense to things that when people get traction about how to live better, normally it's like when you look at it, there's definitely some common sense advice in there. And again, everything that we're talking about is why, as I read through the I Ching, I thought, you know what, there's definitely some ancient wisdom or common sense, depending on how you want to look at it. And you don't have to get spiritual. You don't have to believe in the divination and draw the yarrow sticks. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. It's all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways that you can use this stuff. But I think if you just read what they say, you're going to end up in a pretty good spot. So let's get into this. This is the I Ching. And so each one of these things, and I'm not going to waste a bunch of time. Oh, no, sorry, I'm not going to waste time. I'm not going to go over what the little hexagram looks like. But in your mind, just picture that every one of these things could be either 6 solid lines or 6 lines, either solid or broken lines. That's what you get. All right, so hexagram 1. Heaven above, heaven below. So it says the universe is united in power. So too the wise person executes his actions with power and creativity. Exceptional progress comes by correct persistence. Is that earth-shattering? It certainly is not. But this is what I think is so interesting about this. Let's say you were concerned about, where you're at with your health, fitness, family, whatever. Like take a pick of what issue you're running into in your life. And it says, hey, execute your actions with power and creativity, and exceptional progress is going to come from persistence. Okay, that's good advice. You're going to get better.
Yep.
Next one, the receptive earth is in power. The wise person follows the natural path of calmness and correct persistence. Others may lead while you support their goals. This is like, as soon as I got to that one, I was thinking to myself, others may lead while you support your goals. I tell this to people all the time at Echelon Front. I tell this to people at least twice a week. I'm telling them, let them take lead. Hey, if someone's got a good plan, cool. Go help them. Provide support. We have it in dichotomy leadership. Sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow. That's good. That's exactly what they're saying. Others may lead while you support their goals. That's a good thing. There's no rocket science there for sure. Hey, and I'm skipping the part where it says hexagram 3, water above, thunder below. The overall word is confusion. So I'm skipping that kind of part just to get to the meat of these statements, at least most of the time. Undertake no distant goal, but organize support. Concern yourself with problems of the moment. Now, what's interesting about this one is this is a little bit of prioritize and execute, right? There's a little bit of prioritize and execute, which is, hey, there's problems that are right now, right in front of your face. You gotta get those problems solved. I don't like the idea of undertake no distant goal, but this is a common theme throughout the I Ching, which is more focused on what's right in front of you. I think there's a little bit of the sort of the Eastern philosophy of like living in the present, living in the moment. I think there's a lot of that in here, which I think actually the opposite of make sure you're thinking strategic, make sure you're thinking long term.
That one it strikes me as the old thing you hear a lot, like don't worry or focus on the outcome, focus on the procedure. The destination is not the journey, or the focus on the journey, not the destination.
You're right. So there you go. That's an interpretation that everybody says right now, right? You gotta what do they say? You gotta love the process.
Love the process.
You gotta love the process.
Yeah.
Everybody wants that Mercedes right now, but you gotta love the process, right? That's a thing.
Yeah.
And you're right. That is a better take than what I said. Undertake no distant goal, but organize support. Oh, you know what that means? Don't worry about that long term. Don't worry about that Mercedes right now.
Yeah.
Worry about the process. Yes.
It feels like the use of the word goal is just like slightly different than maybe one might feel the use of the word goal is like now, today with us. It's like when you say, hey, let's set some really good goals, set some goals. That's like things you want to aim for more so than a very specific outcome. It's not totally different, but it's slightly different. It feels like.
And plus, sometimes different languages have totally different words that mean like it's close.
Yeah, it's true.
Carlos is
Mendez?
Yeah, he's redoing the Spanish version of Extreme Ownership to make it highly accurate, because Carlos obviously was in the SEAL teams. He's a fluent Spanish speaker. He's an instructor at Echelon Front. He teaches now the material in Spanish to our Spanish-speaking clients, and he's pointed out to me. He says, "Hey, here's what this means in Spanish. It technically does mean what you say in English, but it technically means it, but it actually means a little bit different. And here's the better word."
Yeah, that's so true.
So if you put it through Chat GPT and just said translate this, it would just spit out whatever the English word and translate it to that direct, closest matching Spanish word that it knows out of context.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what we got going on right now. We're actually going to republish the Spanish version of that, and we're going to do a Spanish speaking where Carlos is going to do the audiobook in Spanish. Yeah.
Right.
It's awesome to have a fluent speaker of Spanish to be able to go that deep.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a important distinction, because how you said Chat GPT or Google Translate or whatever, when you're like, oh, I heard this word in this sentence in this other language. Hey, what does that word mean there? You Google Translate it or whatever, and it spits out this word, and you're like, wait a second, then why would they use that word? It doesn't make sense. But you translate the whole expression, they're like, oh, okay, that's like a whole expression that happened to use that word, just like because of the very reason that you just said, where it's the word, what do they call it's like literal translation, right? They call it, but then the expression has a translation kind of almost in a way separate from the little translation of all the little words.
When that book comes out, we'll have Carlos on and we'll talk through the different words and why this is the best word.
Bro, that helps so much, because like I always tell you, like in Hawaiian, this is just pidgin. This is technically English, but it's pidgin. There's different expressions that, just like how you said, man, it's like it's similar, but it's different. Like when you're expressing a whole expression, like you're going to be saying different things. And they say like the idea of slippers, right? In Hawaii, slippers is flip flops. That's what slippers are in Hawaii. When you say slippers, you mean flip flops, right? In the mainland.
What do you say when you want to refer to slippers? Like, what do you say when you want to refer to something you're wearing around their house that are like
house slippers?
House slippers.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, and this is probably, I don't know exactly why, but I'm sure it has something to do with this idea. People don't wear house slippers in Hawaii. Yeah, they go barefoot. They take off their shoes in Hawaii. So there's house slippers really rare you're going to see in Hawaii, generally speaking. So there's no real expression unless you're house slippers. Then house slippers is different. Then, all right, but even I would think. I don't know, I could be wrong, but given my experience in Hawaii, if you said house slippers, if I didn't have any experience like with the mainland, like house slippers, and you just lived in Hawaii, you'd be like, what, you have an extra pair of slippers that you wear in the house, which makes no sense, because why would you keep shoes on in the house? It doesn't make sense. No one really does that.
Is it, or are we taking off the shoes like in every time you go to a house?
That's customary. That is how. Yeah, for sure. And then also the idea of no shame, right? I tell you that one all the time. No shame. In Hawaii, no shame means don't be shy. But in the mainland, it's like it's more of a negative thing. Like he had no shame. Like he should be ashamed of himself, but he had no shame. Kind of a thing. It's kind of that's different. So in certain contexts, if you're trying to convey whatever message it is in Hawaiian, you say, oh yeah, no shame. It'll be more like, hey, he wasn't being shy, but in the mainland, he was like, oh yeah, no shame. It'd be like, oh, that guy should have been ashamed of himself and he wasn't, kind of a thing. So it's weird. But so you need that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So some of these words like goal, who knows what direct translation really would be. And then look, I might be translating it to English and you might be translating it to English. And even if both of us were fluent in Chinese and fluent in English, we still might, my vibe might be a little bit different than yours, True. So I might pick the word discipline and you might pick the word cruising.
No, I don't know.
All right, next one. As water collects at the base of the quiet mountain, the enlightened person finds his level through learning, decisiveness, and correct persistence. So this is basically telling you to get better. The idea of correct persistence, by the way, is also it's in here a lot. Correct persistence, and what's interesting about that is that's throwing a caveat on persistence, because it's not like, hey, you just keep going no matter what.
Right.
That would be just persistence. Hey, I'm just going to be persistent. But at a certain point, correct persistence is, hey, you know what? Maybe that's not quite the right thing to keep going after now. Like you didn't get it done. You can't get it done. You're wasting a bunch of time, resources, and expenses. So you want to use correct persistence, not just persistence, but correct persistence. Yeah. So that's in here a lot. But to think that you're going to find your level in life by learning, that's smart wisdom. We should listen. Next one. Do not be anxious, but wait with confidence. The moment will arrive when correct persistence brings progress. Again, if you were shaking your 8 ball, like, I don't know if I should keep going to college. What does it tell you? Hey, correct persistence is going to bring progress. Be patient. Don't be anxious. Okay. Or you're working on a project and it feels like it's overwhelming. You shake your magic 8 ball or you throw your coins and it tells you, hey, the moment will arrive when correct persistence breaks. Okay, great. I'm going to keep going. So this is just common. It's a nice way of telling you, hey, freaking keep working, bro.
Yeah.
That's what it's saying.
Yeah.
Next one. Heaven and water, strength and profundity, conflict. Avoid confrontation, yield with caution, persist not against obstacles. This is so good. It's so good. Like, avoid confrontation. That's smart. That's smart. Now, sometimes people paint that in a negative way. Like, oh, that person avoids conflict, right? That person's going to avoid confrontations. But if you're doing something that I don't like and I choose to build a relationship with you and use an indirect method and gain your trust and confidence, and you start to listen to me and I start to listen to you, and then I can get you to stop doing something that that I don't like, great, that's good.
Yeah.
And that's what they're talking about here.
Yeah. You guys, Carlos Mendez is one of the proliferators of this expression, came from you, is nothing good has ever come from an antagonistic relationship. So it's essentially that, right? Where the idea of like conflict, like avoid conflict in a good way. Like no one's saying fear conflict. No one's saying that, because that's what we all feel like. Oh, he just likes to avoid conflict, out of fear.
What it should be is avoid conflict because there's a better way to resolve the situation that's going to be more efficient, faster, and it's going to end up with a better result. Yeah. That's what it should be.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But because people hear, avoid confrontation. Okay, Jocko's just a pushover. It's like, no, I'm actually going to win in the long run in a more effective way. We're going to have a better relationship and things are going to work out better overall in the end. That's what I'm doing. Yep. Now, you can go and confront people all day long and build a bunch of bad relationships and have antagonistic feelings with the people that you work with. You can do that.
Yeah.
And you might think you're being directed is really helpful, but it's not. And it's interesting, too, that the next thing, it says avoid confrontation, but then there's a dichotomy to that, because the next thing it says is yield with caution. So I'm not just like, Echo wants to do it this way. I got to go, okay, hey, is that the smartest thing to do? Yeah. So there's a nice little balance between avoiding confrontation and yet still paying attention to when you yield. And then persist not against obstacles. Now, clearly, well, not clearly, but my assumption is that means sort of like an impassable obstacle. What are you going to do? Keep beating your head against the wall? No, don't persist against an obstacle that's there. Instead, find another way around it. Don't waste a bunch of energy. Ancient wisdom coming at you. Don't beat your head against the wall. Next one, the wise person will find strength in the company of many fellows. Oh, be a part of a big group. Build a team. With leadership, there will be correct persistence and good fortune. Yep. Work together as a team. Have good leader. You're gonna go. Everything's gonna go good.
Yeah. So I was thinking about the idea of leadership on the way down here. By the way,
what was springing that into your freaking head?
I know. But it's crazy
because I'm literally thinking about leadership almost 24 hours a day.
But okay. So part of the reason why it's so valuable to you is because you've come to pretty much, as far as I understand, pretty much 100% of understanding what leadership is and the value of it. So a lot of people, they don't. A lot of people, they think how you guys put the traditional leader. And I want to be if someone wants to be the leader or is interested in leadership for themselves, they think, oh, I want to be the boss. I want to be the guy in charge. I want to be the, so it's almost like maybe an ego or narcissistic or a power hungry or whatever kind of a thing, an idea.
Don't make me start talking about the psychology of military incompetence right now, authoritarian mindsets. Don't make me do that.
Okay.
We can do it. We've done it for 4 podcasts, but okay.
Keep in mind, even if you think of the idea of the benevolent leader, you still have some flavors of, you want to be in charge, you want to be the hero, you want to be that's how it lands, I think, generally speaking. But leadership is not that.
So right. Yep. Hey, if I showed up to the new team and it's like, hey guys, don't worry, I'm a benevolent leader. Yeah. It's the same type of arrogance that comes across.
Right. At least some hints, some smells of that for sure. But here's what leadership actually really is more comparable to. So let's say you ever play Legos?
Yep.
When you're okay.
Yep.
So
well, actually, okay. My parents. Okay. No. I'm just gonna say this. No big deal.
Of course.
Legos were like the high end thing. My freaking parents got me something called lock blocks. So here's the deal, and they might still be around. I don't know, but lock blocks. Here's what sucked was lock blocks did not go with Legos. So like when all your friends would get together to build some cool shit, like some giant buildings, maybe some Star Wars stuff. I don't know. They're building big stuff.
Yeah.
I'm over here in the corner with like 38 lock blocks building jack. Can't even participate in the game, right? Can't even participate with the team.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So
I'm sorry.
So there you go. So yeah, I got close. I was Lego adjacent.
There you go. So you understand. You know what Legos are.
Yep. Legos. Kind of a sore spot over here.
I know, bro. Sorry, because
did you have real Legos?
Bro, Legos were a massive part of my whole life. I still currently have what my kids do now, but I participate 100%.
Oh yeah, I got my kids for real Legos, legit Legos.
Oh yeah. Well, there's different sizes too. There's like
I'm on the lock blocks scene.
No.
I can't wait to Google lock blocks and see if they're still around.
Yeah. Legos, toolbox, anything where you have essentially. Okay, so Legos, I liked the analogy because Legos are like, if you know how to use Legos, you know how they work, you know how they interact with each other, and how they might not interact with certain parts, and how they do interact with certain parts. And you have a direction and a goal or whatever. And the more Legos you have, and the more different types of pieces of Legos that you have, the more cool stuff you can build. So you can be like, hey, I want to build a rocket ship. Cool. Do I have the Lego pieces? Or at the very least, enough Lego pieces to make a rocket ship. How big, how small, whatever. Like, you can kind of do anything with the right Lego pieces. But if you don't know how they work, if you don't know how to put them together, if you don't have like any direction or whatever, they're just a bunch of Lego pieces, no matter how cool or capable those Lego pieces are. So in leadership, it's essentially you can have a great team of people. This guy's so good at this. This guy's so good at the other thing. Like a football team, I've always thought was a really good representation of a team with leadership, and because everyone has their different roles, right? Yep. You can have the best wide receivers, the best running back, all this stuff. If they don't work together, if 3 guys are pissed, 4 guys hate this guy's jealous of that guy, like they just won't work together. The same way you can't put together any kind of Lego construction if you don't know how the pieces work together, if you don't know where they fit together, So
it's like one of those things. I really like that analogy. It's a really close. My only problem with that analogy is
the Legos. I understand.
No. What kind of person looks at Legos and says, "I can't understand how these things work"? Like I wish there was something. There was some component of that thing that there was some sort of understanding of what you had. because anyone can look at a Lego and say, oh, they fit together like this.
Yep.
Now I understand you get these high-end sets, which I kind of, I'm more like a traditional Lego dude,
Sure.
right? I think you should get like the regular ones, maybe some long skinny ones,
Sure.
maybe some long, the little flat ones, maybe some angular 45-degree angles, and then you can work with that, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to be getting all with the things that get real specific, like custom, almost like a custom Lego.
Right.
But your analogy is correct, and leadership is the person that's going to take these pieces and get them to all build something great. Yes, you are correct.
Yeah. So if you where okay, the idea of
It's like, you know what would be a little bit better of an analogy is chemistry.
Sure.
You know, a chemist can look at these different elements and say, oh, I need to add this element, and this element. Like in the book Blood Meridian, they're out of gunpowder. And the judge knows how to make gunpowder. And so they are able to create gunpowder.
Yeah.
No one else could take the various components and create gunpowder. He could. So that's a little bit better of an example than just Legos.
Sure.
Because Legos...
Yeah, you don't like Legos, do you?
No. It's not that I don't like Legos, but anyone can figure out... You're like, you can figure out how to put Legos together. I mean, dude, you got to be a real ignorant person not figure out how them things work.
I feel that as well, but I just have a lot of experience with Legos. But look, again, and then again, look, but think about it.
Try to call me out on my Lego skills.
Yes, sir. But, and look, I'm not harping.
Do they have Lego competitions? They have competitions for everything, right? Do they have Lego competitions? They must. I wonder what the challenge is. I would imagine so. It'd be cool if it was an engineering challenge where it was like, oh, you got to build a 3-foot span of bridge, and it's got to carry this much weight. There's your Lego challenge. Because anytime you make something, it's just how good it looks, you kind of whack.
I would imagine with something as versatile as Legos or lock blocks, as the case may be, it would depend on the kind of challenge. Like how you said, like if it's an engineering challenge, that's a different kind of challenge than just a quote unquote general Lego challenge. Like who can make this spaceship? Because you know how Legos come in sets, right?
Yeah.
Spaceship one. So who can make that spaceship the quickest? Yeah, or whatever. Or who can make the biggest? Or So I don't know, and I think so. My answer that comes to my head, sure, there's Lego competitions, and I'm not going to sit here and what do you call
Wait, how about the Lego movies? You must be into those.
No.
Have you not seen them?
I've seen some. My kids watch them and stuff.
I've watched a decent amount of the Lego. I think the first Lego movie with President Business, which I think is one of the all-time classic names. And it's an interesting movie because it's about creativity and having an open mind, which is a very important thing to teach young kids. And interestingly, what I don't like about that is there's some people have various levels of that open-mindedness. People have various levels of creativity. And to sort of hold that as a standard for a kid and be like, hey, it's sort of like if they made a movie about being tall. There's some kids that are not tall, right? And where do you draw that line? So it's really cool to say like, hey, have an open mind and be creative and create new things. A lot of people don't have that knack, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's the last podcast that we did talked about that. And it talked about it in a real politically incorrect way.
Oh, for real?
A real politically incorrect way, which is like, if you score this score on the standard test that we're giving to all people in the Army. Actually, I don't even know if we covered this on the podcast because I might have just skipped or I might have not covered it. But they had like a standardized test that you took in 1941.
Wait, are you still talking about the Lego movie or no?
Well, I'm about to.
Oh, okay.
Which was, you take the standard test and you have a certain level capacity to learn, to do math. Okay. And they go, okay, if you got this on the test, you can be an engineer in the military. If you don't, you can't be an engineer. And by the way, if you're really low on this scoring, you're going to be on the bottom end of the jobs that we have for you. You might be a person that's peeling potatoes. I mean, we talked about this when we talked about the IQ test that they lowered in the Vietnam War, and they started taking people that were mentally disabled and allowing them to be in the Army. Yeah. And that's horrible. And I think Jordan Peterson, I want to say something like 10% of the population has an IQ of less than 85. And then it's really hard to employ somebody that has an IQ of less than 85. Now they can be employed, but you got to find a job that is very suitable for them. So when you're making the Lego movie and you're exalting creativity,
what does exalting mean?
Like holding it up. This is the best way you want to be super creative. There's some people that don't, because by the way, you can test people for intellect, but you can also test them for hand-eye coordination. You can test them for creativity. You can test them for problem solving. And so we're exalting this one type of thing.
Yeah.
And some people might think that's the path they need to go down, and yet they don't have that capability. A good one is music, right?
Yeah.
Some people can hear. Now, you can train and get better, but some people can naturally hear a C note.
Yeah.
They can naturally. I think Jamie Cochran can sing a C, right? Because she went to college and she was a singer.
Yeah.
And so she can sing a C. You can say, Jamie, give me C flat. And she'll, whatever, right?
Hell yeah.
But there's a certain amount of natural capability. We talked about this. I know we did talk about on the podcast, the tonal languages, right? So some people cannot hear tone. Now listen, I guess if you grew up with a tonal language, you would be trained. So maybe it's something that you just didn't get and you can't figure it out. But the fact remains, if I was a failure at picking up tone, and then they watched a movie and said, hey, everyone should join the military, and the most elite thing you can do is go learn Vietnamese. And I'm like, yeah, that's the best job you can get. And so now I go and I can't do it. Instead of looking at me and saying, hey, you might be good at this, but you might be good at that. You might be strong. You might be fast. You might be smart. You might be good at math. But when we exalt one thing, and you know what, I might be being too harsh on the Lego movie. That was sort of the impression that I remember. I was like, oh, that's cool. They're trying to teach people, just don't follow what the package says.
Yeah.
Just don't follow the directions every single time and create what everyone else created. Create something new. There's a whole thing about the gluing of the pieces together. That's what's going on in the movie. Like there's people that they want to glue that thing together so it can never change. We made this thing and we just want this structure to stand. And other people are like, hey man, let's mix it up. They're exalting creativity. Again, there's nothing wrong with exalting creativity, but if you're a person that lacks creativity and now you're forcing yourself to try and become a creative person when what you should be, let's take engineer versus artist, right? There's some people that are going to be a better artist. There's some people that are going to be a better engineer. If all we do is exalt artists, the people that should be going to become an engineer might not get there. Or they might feel bad when they get there.
Right. And I think that's the key there and I don't remember the message of the Lego movie. I just remember it was on. Kids are watching it. I liked the effects.
Hey, watch it next time. Watch it for real. It's a good movie.
Yeah, I understand. Even just what you said, I was like, that makes sense. But keep in mind, I don't know, maybe I'm just sort of maybe being a devil's advocate in this way where it depends how they're exalting the creativity. So if they kind of start with, hey, the mainstream is people following the directions, gluing the pieces together, and like these other people who specific or some version of this where the other people, they're like, hey, I don't want to necessarily do that because I'm pulled towards this other thing to start experimenting and do that. First off, that's how Legos really are in real life. You put together the thing, and then after that you break it apart, and then you just start making in fact, you're not going to follow the directions more than once.
We're about to go down. We're about to go down. It's about to go down. Here's the thing. I think lately we've been exalting creativity so much that people are just trying to be different for the sake of being different. And the reason I can bring this up right now is because as we read through the I Ching, you're going to see that a lot of what they're saying is like, be normal. Yeah. Be normal is a positive thing. Now, it kind of bummed me out because when I was going to college, there was a woman there that was a Buddhist monk. Yeah. And when I was in college, I had to take classes about religion, and you get that vibe from Buddhism, which is like, hey, don't stand out, fit in, like you just want. And that's why when you go to, when I was in Thailand and we'd see the Buddhist monks, guess what? All the Buddhist monks dress the same. They all have a shaved head. They all wear the same outfit. They all eat the same. They walk, they like that's part of the gig. That's part of the thing. Yeah. Hey, I'm not trying to stand out. I'm not trying to be a big individual. But there was this woman that was a monk at my college, and if she was obeying Buddhism, guess what she would have done? In my opinion, in my judgmental opinion, which I certainly can be extremely judgmental, I would look at her, she'd be walking around, she had a shaved head, and she was walking around in the Buddhist outfit, right? Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, and she was a Western woman, you know, she was from Canada or something like this. And I was thinking, oh, if she was really on board, then wouldn't you just want to, like, quote unquote, fit in with everybody else?
Yeah.
Maybe. Look, I'm not a Buddhist. I don't know. But I definitely got that thought in my mind. Right. Now, there might be some part of Buddhism that I don't know, which is, hey, you need to represent so other people can see it. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe, right? There's some religions that you got to dress a certain way because you want other people to see that you are representing the religion or cult, because you know what Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh is? Do you know what that is? Oddly,
yeah, I kind of do, yeah.
Okay, well, they made a documentary about it, Wild Country. Did you see it?
No.
Well, I was very interested in it because when I was growing up, one of my friends' parents were into that. They were like, and they would wear these orange or whatever, or purple outfits. Mm-hmm. And that was part of is it okay to call that a cult right now? I think it might be.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was part of the cult, was like, you got to dress that way so other people can see that you represent the cult.
Yeah. I don't think Buddhism is like that. I don't know either. Yeah. Like, I know there's all these like surface level things that you're like, wait a second. They you know, there's a lot of questions for sure. Now with that, of course, with superficial observations, all your questions, it's like, man, if you don't look into it, how are you ever going to get the answers to the questions? Yeah. I get it. So I get it. It's like a little thought exercise, which is very useful, but I know you're just joking, but obviously there's no merit to cast any judgment if you don't know all this stuff, right? It's like judgment out of ignorance, whatever. So the Buddhism could be, I don't know if it is or not.
We're just going down. We're going to get annihilated.
It could be like, hey,
because my Buddhist people out there, I'm sorry.
It's like, you know, you're letting go of like certain like real world materials, like stuff, right? And one is hair, like, and just like how you said, hair is just here to look good. We don't need it. We're here for, you said to win, but Buddhism might be like, hey, we're here for different reasons, you know? So hair, we're not going to let that be part of our earthly possession or pride or ego or whatever, right? There's that. There's like all this other stuff, just like fashion, and just like there's probably a bunch of stuff that Buddhism lets go of. So you got to wear that certain thing as a representation of that. That's currently what we arrived at. That's our best representation of it. It could be, I don't know, but it could be, hey, if.
By the way, when you say our best representation, you mean that's what you and I, a couple idiots on a podcast talking to each other, that's how we are interpreting it at this time.
Actually, I'm even just saying mine, really.
Yeah, because you don't want to lump me into your mayhem.
It could be way off, probably am. But either way, it stands to reason to some degree or whatever. Hey, that might be it, right? That might be how, or maybe they're like, hey, if you can find a better representation of this idea that goes super deep or whatever, if you can find a better representation, then hey, we'll do that. But right now, this is currently what we're at, and this is what we're doing for these very specific reasons. And boom,
to bring this back a little bit, what I'm saying is, if you are exalting being different, and that becomes the main focus of everybody, then people that want to kind of conform are now feeling like, in order to be successful in life, their main goal should be to be different than everybody else. Yeah. And it becomes a focus of life to be different, when maybe you should focus on getting better. Maybe you should focus on creating. Maybe you should focus on participating. Maybe you should focus on being a productive member of society. Yeah. Because if you could be like if you, for instance, someone that has a less creative mind, and they could be a really incredible construction worker, they could be really incredible in a factory, they could be really incredible being an engineer, being a doctor, right? Does a doctor require creativity? No, they're a mechanic for your body. So there's all these jobs that don't require this for you to be different and quote think different. Mm-hmm. And yet we're exalting those things to the point where someone, instead of saying, oh yeah, you know what, this looks like a good job, this looks like something I could be good at, I actually enjoy doing that kind of thing, I'll just go do that.
Yeah.
Instead, we're saying, no, you got to do something special, you got to do something different. And I'm just saying, in my opinion, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Instead of, and where you get to your point, if you've got someone that has different thoughts and wants to be different and is naturally different, when we're trying to force them into conformity, each one of those two ways is equally wrong. Trying to take someone that is just should be normal and trying to force them to be different is just as bad as taking someone that's different and trying to force them to be normal.
Yes.
And I think right now we're on the pendulum side of everyone. You're different, be different, don't conform.
Yeah.
And again, we're going to get into this, and that's why I'm like cleared hot talking this topic. There's a lot of it, like you're talking about what you wear,
sure,
or what I wear, what a human being wears.
Yeah.
For me, I don't want to wear something that people would notice. You know what I mean? Like right. I don't like to. If someone gave me a purple and pink tie to wear, I don't want to wear that. I don't want anyone to say, "Oh, that's a weird tie," or "That's a nice tie." Or I don't want them to even notice that I'm wearing a tie. Yeah. Like, what's the normal color tie to wear? It's it's a black and red tie with the wool stripes on it. That's the normal thing.
Yeah.
I want to be normal.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not wearing the flashy sunglasses. I wear the normal sunglasses.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, and when I see somebody that's wearing stuff that is specifically made for attention, I'm always like, okay, it's a little bit of a thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I could even say that if you're a Buddhist monk and you're in a university setting where everyone is wearing, the professors are wearing whatever, a pair of slacks and whatever, let's face it, there's a uniform for a college professor.
Sure.
It's pretty wide range, but there is a uniform, right? Mm-hmm. You're wearing pants, or if you're a female, maybe you're not wearing pants, but you're wearing a skirt type thing or a dress. You know what I mean? There's a window that you're going to fit in. And wearing a Buddhist monk outfit isn't in that window. So if you're wearing it, you're definitely going to draw attention. And if you're drawing attention, well, that might not be representative of trying to conform and fit in. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, and then again, we don't know what Buddhism is. It sounds like I'm defending Buddhism. But what I'm saying is we can't just assume we know. Like, what if the intention to fit in or stand out isn't it's the intention, not the result,
We'll get someone on here. We'll get a Buddhist on here to talk us through this, because I don't want to sit here and we're discussing things that we don't know anything about. So we'll be quiet. We're sorry.
But the real quick with the Lego movie, and I say this because this is kind of an important distinction where if they're exalting creativity, like as if to say like, hey, being creative is better than being less creative or whatever, or following the instructions or whatever. If they're saying that, then okay, that's bad. But if the message overall is, and again, I forget the actual message, but if the message is, hey, we're all used to this, and there's a number of people who aren't very happy with this, and they're really pulled to do this other sort of creative
thing. As
I
said, that message is fine. The message is fine to say, hey, if you're feeling creative or you feel like a creative person and you want to do things that are different, that's cool.
Yeah.
But to tell everyone in that group that putting the glue on the Legos and building things that are going to be stable and structured is bad, that's not right.
Yeah, I agree.
That's not right. So let's not get crazy with it. Let's not take anything to an extreme. Let's be balanced.
Yep. So there's also a movie, and you will not want to necessarily talk about this one, so bear with me. There's a movie called Tall Girl, because you mentioned height. You can't control height, right? You can't. So there's a movie called Tall Girl, and it's the classic story of a girl in junior high, and she's way taller than everyone, like way taller. And it's one of those things where it's like they made the movie. Obviously, one of the reasons was because, hey, like there are some people who they're not quote unquote average height and they feel left out. They feel weird, and the movie basically sheds light on the idea that, hey, if you're a tall girl, you can still live life or whatever. Don't feel weird is what I'm saying. Like, hey, let's not, and that's why I asked, like, what does exalt mean? Because does that mean like, hey, let's shine a light on it and show that it's not terrible. It's not, you're not a monster if you're tall. You're not, or does it mean like, hey, if you're tall, you're actually better than the average people?
That would be the obviously no one would say, hey, that's a great movie, telling people that are taller that they're better.
Right. Exactly. That's the point.
We don't want to do that.
Right. So I don't know if the Lego movie said that.
Better at what, for one thing?
Being tall.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if the Lego movie is saying being the person who makes different stuff with different Legos is better than the people who don't.
It definitely paints the creative person as the more heroic person.
Okay.
So that's why I'm calling it out. We can't go. We don't want to do that. And the weird thing is, like, let's say you're a parent. What do you want your parent to be? What do you want your kid to be? You want your kid to be all creative and special and all that stuff.
Special. Hell yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, I want my kid to do what is natural for them. Some people naturally will be better as an engineer than an artist. And don't try and force people to do something that they're not. And don't say, well, can't you just be more creative, child? Why are you trying to follow the rules all the time? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah. You know what I think, though, in the grand scheme of things? I do think...
I do not know what you think of the grand scheme of things.
With what you just said. I think that parents want their kids to be safe more than they want them to be like... Of course, creativity, that's a good thing, to be helped and fostered and all that stuff or whatever. But, I'd say this story, this quote-unquote like hypothetical story is more common. This is what it feels like anyway for you. The story is usually the parents want the kid to do something that keeps them safe and more secure for success and like that kind of stuff more so than, hell yeah, take some chances if you're pulled towards that. They're going to be mad. Like so many stories is like, I went to college for my parents and now, I don't want to do that. Or I quit college because that wasn't my thing. That wasn't my thing. I want to go off the tracks. I want to do, like stuff that I want to do. I want to take risks. I want to do the creative stuff. Meanwhile, my parents just wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or whatever. Yeah. So I feel like the parents, that's usually the case. They want them to be safe.
I would say that you have one, you're looking at one perspective because there's definitely parents out there that, are pushing their kids to be different.
Yeah.
There's especially right now. Right now, there's definitely parents that are pushing their kids to be, their primary goal is to make them different. And that's not good. You got to, let your kids be who your kids are.
Yeah. Yeah, that different for the sake of being different.
Yeah, what's funny is when you meet guys like in the military, you'll meet people that they're like, usually have some weird name. Especially,
I can't speak on it.
Yeah, so especially when I got into the military, so like we're talking 90s, you'd meet some guy, his name would be like, whatever, freaking Haiku.
Sure.
And you'd be like, oh, your parents hippies? Yep.
Yeah.
Like you'd know that their parents are hippies. Like,
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, you're one of those people. So...
Haiku.
Yeah, your name is Haiku. There's people. So my point is that the parents wanted the kid to be different, free-spirited, but the kid's like, dude, I'm joining the freaking army. You know what I'm saying? Get me away from these freaking weirdos.
That's a good point, sir.
So, all right. Next one. The need for unity and collective awareness of the goal. So that one right there, this is just good leadership advice. Make sure everyone understands and is unified towards a collective goal. Everyone needs to know what we're doing and be on board. And the next one says, do not procrastinate. So if you shook that magic 8 ball every day and it said, do not procrastinate, that'd be good advice. And then join with others and return to the plan. Okay, that means focus on the mission. Next, restraint brings progress and satisfaction. I've heard people say that discipline equals freedom. Restraint brings progress and satisfaction. Yes, discipline equals freedom. Make minor changes and conceal all actions. I get conceal all actions. Maybe that's a little bit sketch. And by the way, I'm not reading all these, although I read a lot of them. The wise leader benefits from harmony. Good fortune approaches. This is fortune cookie stuff right there, right? Like, oh, I'm not really sure what's going to happen with this next project we're doing. Oh, we should work together. Harmony.
Yeah.
It's like good advice. Good job.
Yeah, the fortune cookie thing, I think, jams you up because we as individuals think the fortune cookie is made specifically for us.
That's what all of these things are.
That's
what. So, okay, here's something I used to do back in the day. So I'd be like out, I'm talking to a girl, and she'd be like, "What sign are you?"
Yeah.
And I'd be like, "Sagittarius."
But you're not a Sagittarius.
No, but they would say like, "Oh, I knew it." Because you're this. And then I'd say no. I'd let them talk for 5 minutes about how much of a Sagittarius I was.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And then I'd be like, "I'm just kidding. I'm not Sagittarius." They'd be like, "Are you serious? What are you?" And I'd be like, "A Scorpion." And oh my God, I knew it.
It's what a Scorpio would do.
But I'm not a Scorpio. You see what I'm saying? And I would trap them with that too.
I do see what you're saying.
So all these things are made for everybody. It's kind of like who's going to win the war.
Right.
Or no, what will happen if I invade this country? Oh, a great nation will fall. Okay, great. I'm going to do it. Yeah, you end up falling and you think, what was wrong with the oracle?
Yep.
The oracle was right.
Yep.
War causes the fall of a nation. Just don't know which one.
So I guess in a way, it's kind of like marketing in a way where this is the general term that's widely beneficial, right? These elements of philosophy, right? Where it's like, hey, don't make excuses, right? But me as the individual, I'm coming to you with a specific problem. Don't tell me some widespread philosophy. I need the one for my problem, right? Yeah. I open the fortune cookie. I come to ancient Jocko, the ancient master.
You shake the 8 ball.
Yeah, I shake the 8 ball. You ever seen the Jamaican one where they have the bones?
Yep.
It's like and they throw it on and they throw it on
because when you go down to New Orleans,
yeah,
there's like voodoo going on.
Oh, hell yeah.
And they might throw some bones too.
Same deal. They're going to tell you that same thing where this is ancient wisdom that applies to everybody. But hey, I come to you with my problem. So like, hey, give me the answer to my specific problem. And then yours like, make no excuse. You just grabbed from the group bucket, gave it to the individual and it landed. Weird, right?
It's going to land. That's the thing that you don't know. Yeah. It's going to land.
Yeah, all day.
If you come to me with your problem and I say, be disciplined, that's going to land. You're going to be like, yeah, I need to be more disciplined. Yeah, it's going to solve your financial problems. It's going to solve your health problems. It's going to solve your relationship. Everything. I solved that problem. Yep. But because you came, even when you read about how to throw the coins or draw the sticks for this, it says, think deeply. And it also says you might get an answer that's wrong because you weren't really thinking about it. You were thinking about something else. So anyways, all right, next one. Strong persons give way to the inferior. Good advice, right? I give that people that leadership advice all the time. It's called listening. Listen to other people. Listen to your subordinates. The enlightened person remains reserved to avoid misfortune. Yes. Don't make yourself stand out. Don't wear your freaking pink and orange jacket. Next one. Reorganize the dependence of all upon their fellows. Say that again. Reorganize the dependence of all upon their fellows. What does that mean? Everyone's got to work together. Cover and move. The wise person seeks collective flow to gain advantage. Yes, we cover and move for each other. Work together. Resist evil. Exalt good. Proper leadership brings great progress. But hey, if you got to shake your 8 ball every day, you got a drug problem. You're addicted to alcohol. You have opportunities to do things that are nefarious. And it says, resist evil, exalt good. Guess what? Good advice. This is all good advice. This is all good advice. Progress comes by equality of extremes. What does that mean? It means be balanced. So from harmony with supporters does the wise person gain advantage. Yeah. Harmony with the people, with your supporters, for sure. That's going to help you. Next one's about flexibility. The enlightened person adapts. leads the way from darkness to comfort. So you got to adapt. In fact, this is lake above, thunder below. This is flexibility. Be flexible. That's what they're saying. Cultivate action in others to bring about repair and great progress. Get people to go. It's like good advice. So the enlightened person willing to teach and learn from others. Progress comes through persistence. They're big on persistence. But yes, willing to teach, willing to learn. Yes, that's a positive thing. That makes sense. The rulers of old traveled the world. They visited its regions and contemplated its many cultures, explore new ideas. That's always going to help you. Next, achieve progress through reform. Administer justice. Those are positive. Next, the wise person perceives and avoids disputes. That's really good advice to give people. Oh, there's a dispute that's going to happen. I'm going to avoid that. Again, we could go down that doesn't mean we're fearing any, confrontation and we're never going to do it, but we're probably going to, we should find a better way. Yeah. We should find a better way. That's what we should be doing. That's what I recommend doing. Enlightened people stabilize their lives through generosity toward the needy. Beautiful. Help other people, especially people that need it. The enlightened person studies the past's wisdom to develop his own character. Yes. I think we made an entire podcast about that. About studying the past wisdom to develop our own character. Yes. That's 100% what we should be doing. Support goals that are above question, but be cautious in expression and avoid the negative. Correct persistence brings one good fortune. And that's, as I'm reading these, when it talks about persistence, in some of these predictions, it's telling you be persistent. Like there's some of them that don't have that. The ones that say correct persistence, so then you'd be encouraged. But there's very few of them that say do not persist. There's very few of these that say that. Most of them are encouraging to keep going. The enlightened person withdraws from the world to progress toward an independent goal. Stress is imminent. What do I like about that? If you've got goals, you got things you want to get done, there's going to be stress. Stress is imminent. Be ready for it. That's a good thing. When someone tells you, when you go set out to do something, I'm like, hey man, it's going to be hard. Yeah. If I tell you psychologically this impact on you, if I say, oh yeah, here's an example. Hey, if you came up to me and said, hey Jocko, have you rolled with Fred yet? That new black belt from this academy? Yeah. And he wrestled in college. Have you rolled with him yet? I go, yeah, man, he's not as good as you think, and he's not very strong. You'd be like, oh, okay, cool. And then you wrestle with him or you train with him and he's like actually strong. Actually, regardless of how strong he is, he's going to feel stronger because your mindset was he was weak. Right. If I told you, hey, this guy's a killer, he's freaking strong as hell, he's going to feel weaker than you anticipated in most cases. Yeah, most cases.
Yeah, that idea of getting caught off guard with certain things that you never really thought about. The small detailed things like fasting was one that when you fast, it's like, oh, you're gonna feel hungry, or you're gonna feel like there's certain feelings that come along with fasting. If you're not ready for them, you'll be like, oh, and you won't be able to deal with it. But yeah, being able to kind of brace for impact in a way,
you got to set the right expectations. Yeah. It's just like when someone tells you like a movie is awesome. Yeah. That's the worst thing you can tell somebody about a movie. I know. Actually, no, I was going to see Little Birds with Elgin James.
Sure. Hell yeah.
I was going to the preview. So it wasn't out yet. And we're driving to it. And I say, hey man, I was like, so what's the story with this? And he goes, there's two girls and they're living out in Nyland, California, and out by the Salton Sea, and they want to get out of that town. And he's like, it was like me and you growing up. And I was like, oh, that's awesome, man. I go, so then what happens? He goes, well, then they go to LA and shit goes sideways. And dude, I'm not even thinking about this. Like, what goes sideways? I'm like, what happens? This is as we're driving to see this, like a 7-minute drive. I go, so what? I was like, oh, what goes sideways? And he goes, I'll just let you see. And when he said that, I was kind of like, dude, like, are you serious right now? You know what I mean? I was kind of like, bro, like, just tell me this is no big deal. Like, I don't care about your silly movie or what. You know what I mean? Kind of like that. Like, of course, but I was just like, okay. My mind was okay, but I said like, sure. Okay. I was trying to be cool about it. Yeah. And then when the movie was over, I was like, thank you so much for not telling me how that went down, because it is like very impactful. Yeah. And if you know it's coming, it's not going to hit you the same way. Yeah. Boy, it hits you, boy. Movie's Little Birds by Elgin James. I think you can get it on, the streaming platforms. I think you can get it on Apple. Yeah. What is Apple TV? Yeah. I think you can get on there.
It's not a brand new movie, though.
No. It's right. It's old. Have you seen Little Birds?
No.
Oh.
I saw the trailer.
Yeah. It is one of those movies where you're not going to feel comfortable or good about things when you're done. Real? Yeah. No, you'll feel okay at the end of it. You'll be like, all right, we're going to be okay. But in the middle, towards the end of it, you don't feel good about the world. You're kind of not feeling good about the world. And I guess that's sort of the little uplift at the end. there's a little bit of an uplift at the end. You walk out of the theater going, but you definitely, so Little Birds.
Don't Elgin spoil James, it. Yeah. You know how, and just like what you essentially were saying, you want to go in fresh to these movies.
Yes.
And Elgin James, good on him, where he wanted you to go in fresh.
He kept me fresh. Yeah. But the weird thing is, like, this is my bro.
Yeah.
Like, he would literally tell me anything. I would literally tell him anything. Yeah. That's why when he's like, I'll just let you see the movie, I was kind of, like, bro.
Wait, what were you thinking though? Like,
I was thinking he was going to tell me, like, oh yeah, this is what happens.
Oh, you were mad he didn't tell you?
I was kind of like, it was almost, look, this is a guy that I grew up, like, we've been together.
Right.
And we tell each other whatever, like every little detail. So it was probably the first time in my life that he was like, not going to tell me something.
Yeah, and you were offended, not offended,
and I was slightly offended. I was
by that,
no, never mind. You kind of, no, I was like slightly offended. Like, bro, are you serious right now?
Yeah.
Like, we know everything.
Yeah.
I would literally tell him everything.
Yeah.
For my whole life, and now all of a sudden he's like, "Well, you can wait and find out."
Right,
I mean, it's just jacked up. It seemed jacked up at the time.
It's messed up. But what he was doing was actually, you weren't offended by that. You weren't offended by like, what you say about this movie is not going to affect me either way. So you should just say it wasn't that. It was just the fact like, oh, I thought you were my bro. You're not going to tell me,
bro. You've told me literally everything that's happened in your whole life.
Yeah.
And I've told you everything that happened in my whole life, everything. And now you made a silly movie, and you're not going to tell me what the plot is, and I'm going to watch it. This is a 7-minute ride, by the way. It wasn't like we were in the car for an hour. Like, we were going to start watching the movie. So I was like, I was frustrated that he was going to tell me, like, maybe we had a 4-hour car ride you could see, but I only had to wait 6 more minutes to get to watch the actual movie.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting the way those expectations you can set yourself up with expectations.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you think this guy's going to roll good or this guy's going to roll bad, or you can really put yourself in a good spot or a bad spot based on what your expectations are, and you have to be very careful with your team when you do that. And when you tell someone on your team, "Oh, we're going to dominate this presentation." "Oh, I've worked with this client before. They don't ask any hard questions." Oh, okay, cool. Now people don't prepare, and the first question is going to be a doozy.
Right.
So you got to pay attention to that. The wise person learns confidence through danger. Remain calm in mind. Keep all actions virtuous. Again, read that to yourself every morning, right? And confidence through danger, I think we could probably, my interpretation of the Chinese word is discomfort, right? Or putting yourself in situations that you're not used to. That's how you gain confidence, right? You gotta be outside your stress level. Now, this doesn't mean you go out, if you want to get more confidence in fighting, you don't go and challenge the freaking, 2-time state champion wrestler from California that's a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
No.
And you don't talk smack to him. No, you start by training with someone that's a little bit better than you, and you start to gain confidence. Eventually, you can train with people that haven't been training as long as you, and you get more confident. So, yes, you have to push yourself beyond what you're capable of in order to gain competency and confidence. Keep all actions virtuous. Hey, amazing. Ancient wisdom or common sense? I don't care. Do it. Next, the enlightened person cultivates intelligence and gains progress through correct persistence. Align yourself with goals that bring enlightenment. Yeah, don't do dumb shit. I think we just did a podcast about that. Marriage brings good fortune. I had to put some question marks by that one because that is not a known true statement. Again, this is when you read these now and you think of them as predictions, as you are going to roll or flip the coins, and you're like, should I marry, Jessica?
Sure.
And then it says marriage brings good fortune. You're like, okay, I'm in. But here's the thing: if you're asking that question in the first place, was that good or bad?
Yeah, it's a sign, I guess. Yeah.
Accept others and act openly. I think that's a great advice. All change is imminent. Yep, things are going to change. Activity and change teach well the value of endurance. Stand firm and move with persistence toward a goal. Okay. This thing leans toward being persistent. That's what it leans toward. And that's a good way to lean in life. A good way to lean in life is keep going. Now listen, let's say you were the guy that made this thing up in order to make some money by doing predictions for people, you could probably say be persistent 8 times out of 10. Mm-hmm. And then 2 times out of 10, you're like, maybe pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah.
And what happens? Let's say you say, oh, I want to try a new business venture. I'm like, yep, be persistent. And it's not doing very well. And you're like, should I keep going? And I say, yep, be persistent. And you say, wait a second, it's really hurting me. Should I keep going? And by now you get one that says, hey, pump the brakes. You know what I'm saying? So it's best to be persistent for a while. And then if you keep having to ask that question, maybe it's time to pump the brakes.
So that's why they put correct persistence in there.
Yeah,
So,
that's another reason.
you know, that whole thing, and, you know, you always talk about this idea of giving up versus pivoting versus, you know, like the idea of like, hey, if
tactical retreat.
Yes, tactic. So it's more like if you understand your end goal, you're not giving up on the brick wall. You're just, hey, let's not beat our head against it. Right. Let's go around it, or let's do this, you know. So there's always that puzzle to sort of to solve. Mm-hmm. So like correct persistence is one of them where it kind of seems, actually straight up does seem like persistence, not like beating your head against the brick wall, right? So it's like, okay, like, I got to get past this wall to my other goal to then get my overall goal, right? You got a brick wall, then you got maybe a hill, right? Then you got the other goal. I can't get through this brick wall. Mm-hmm. Correct persistence is like keep beating your head, keep trying to whatever. Correct persistence is, hey, hit it once, hit it twice. As you say, not 27 times. Let's maybe take a quote unquote longer way, and it'll be quick. So around the brick wall, now we got a hill.
We're still going up the mountain.
Yeah. So basically, correct persistence is, hey, don't give up on the overall goal.
Yes.
Don't stop with it. Don't say, hey, it's too hard for me or whatever. Be like, hey, correct persistence is let's not get hung up on these little challenges in the same way. We got to be creative with these and change our like methods or whatever as long as we get to that overall goal. So persistence doesn't mean beat your head against the brick wall. It doesn't mean
correct persistence.
Freaking walking 10 steps up the hill and falling back down 100 times. Correct persistence is don't give up on the end goal. Yeah. You can change all these little tactical things in between.
It's exactly what I wrote about in the book, Leadership Strategy and Tactics Field Manual.
Yeah.
So this is a good one. Very similar. Same vein. The tranquil mountain. Occasionally, hexagram 33, heaven above, mountain below. Retreat. The tranquil mountain remains quiet under heaven's gaze. So does the enlightened person maintain dignity in retreat. Like, hey, sometimes you got to back out. That's cool. So again, you came to me with your little business that you're trying, and I kept telling you persist, and then finally I'm like, retreat is okay. 7 out of 10 times, you're good. Occasionally you got to retreat. 8 out of 10 times, maybe you're good. Occasionally you got to retreat. The wise person acts within convention and with persistence. Use influence wisely. Hey, this is what I'm getting back to, like act within. There's a lot of that undertone in the I Ching of like conform. Act within convention. This is the advice that it gives a lot. And guess what? If I'm trying to give you advice that percentage-wise is going to work out the best, most of the time I'm going to say, hey, take the conventional route, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yes. If you're just like, hey, you know, Jocko, I don't know if I want to be an engineer or a movie star.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, work within the convention.
Yeah.
You know, and that's probably going to be the best advice to give. There's a small chance you're going to miss out on being a movie star, which I'm sure you'd probably pretty good one. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 times, telling someone to do what's being done is a good move. Let's not try and reinvent the wheel. Next. So does the enlightened person reveal virtue. Conditions favorable for progress. Again, that's like telling you about your specific question that you're going through. Conceal goals, but do not abandon them. Trying conditions, but correct persistence brings one to advantage. Yeah. Hey, man, keep going. Maybe conceal your goals a little bit, but keep going. Mm. The enlightened person acts in an orderly and substantial way. Faith and loyalty must be nurtured. Good advice. The enlightened person only acts in small matters. Maintain individuality. The enlightened person examines and perfects his own behavior to gain strength. This is incredible advice. If you shook the magic 8 ball or opened your fortune cookie and it said, perfect your own behavior to gain strength, that's good advice. You should do that. The enlightened person finds good fortune in quick action to restore normal conditions. Forgive others' faults. What incredible, strong advice. Forgive people when they mess something up. Forgive them for the faults that they may or may not have. And take action. Take action to get things fixed. And again, you see that little idea of returning to normal. Normal's a thing. I like normal. I like normal. I think normal is good.
Yeah.
There's a reason why things are normal, because it works. I'm not addicted to normal. I don't maintain normal for all situations. But normal is a really good baseline for life.
Yeah, and even the word normal is very multi-dimensional, if you will, where change in and of itself is normal. Like, it's pretty abnormal for something to be the same, no matter what it is.
Look at that with the big deep connection.
But yeah, that abnormal stuff can jam you up because it's like predictable, right?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't normal sort of in right today, 2023, sometimes taken as offensive?
Sometimes, yeah.
If I say, oh, this is normal, and then all of a sudden, if you're not that, you have a problem.
Right. Yeah. Wait, it's offensive if you're not normal, or normal is bad?
So if I was like that movie you're talking about, Tall, what was it called? Tall Girl. Hey, you're not normal.
Right.
Because you're tall.
Yeah.
Right? That can be offensive.
Yeah.
But you could apply that to like anything that is actually not normal. What is normal? Is there a percentage for normal? Hey, 80% of people. Yeah. Hey, 80% of people are between 80% of girls at age 12 are between the heights of whatever, 4'2" and 4'8" or whatever. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is. Is it taller than that?
I don't know.
But whatever it is, that's actually you could prove that that's what normal is.
Right.
But now if I say that's normal, just say, oh, well, that's not. You like let's say you took your kid to the doctor and they did the height measurement, and they said, oh, your kid's not normal. Yeah. You'd be a little bit mad?
No. I feel like, then again, this could be just me, but I think it's general where normal is still one of those real in the middle of the road words that's like really depends on how you're saying it. Like if your kid's acting a certain way and you say, hey, act normal, then normal's going to be good.
I guess I've seen enough like triggered videos of like, that's not, how do you know what normal is? Like that kind of thing.
Right.
Where it's like, no. I'm saying that, when we talk about the percentage of people that have this characteristic, it's 87% of people are this way. Yeah. And that means that is actually normal.
Yeah.
So you can't get mad at that.
Yeah.
I think people get mad at that.
Yeah.
People get mad at that they're not considered normal when it's just I'm sure there's some kind of a mathematical calculation to figure out what normal is. Normal, is normal 70%? I bet if you ask people what percentage constitutes normality, you'd probably get, it's probably between 68. Like if you asked 1,000 people what percentage makes something normal, I think people would say 70 or 75%.
Yeah. And then again, I could be wrong about this, but normal feels like more of a feeling. So it's like what you're used to in my environment, just because norm.
But I'm saying that feeling that you're talking about, if you tried to isolate it or at least get a bracket around it, I bet that most people
try to measure it.
Yeah, if you try to measure it, most people's feeling about what normal is would probably be around 75%.
Yeah. And the reason that I say, and I would agree with you, but the reason I'm saying it's a feeling is because technically, if you have 100 people, and let's go 50%. Actually, let's go 40%. 40% have this one quality, very specific quality out of about 30 qualities. 30% of them I'll even go down, 30% have this one quality. The rest of them have a bunch of different other qualities. It's almost like the majority versus the, the non-majority or minority.
I still don't think that's normal.
Right. Okay. So you wouldn't call that normal. Okay. Cool. Yeah. But where's the line drawn? So here,
I just said it.
So, but here, okay.
70%.
Okay. Let's go 70%. Let's say there's 5% variation across the board, all 100 people. They're all different by a factor of 5%. Like 5% of this, 5% of this other thing, whether it be tall, short, whatever. The idea that
there's 20 variants and they're all equal.
Yeah.
There's 20 variants and they're all equal.
They're different.
Right. But there's 20 variants. Yeah. Let's say you could have 20 different eye colors.
Yeah.
And they're all 5%.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, there's no majority or minority. They're just dispersed evenly, right?
Where are we going with this?
Or pretty evenly in this town.
Okay.
Right. For everyone.
I'm going to make a new podcast called Hypothetical Echo.
I know you will.
Okay.
The idea or the fact that everyone has all kinds of different eye colors is normal for that town.
Yes.
But if you go to one more town right next to it where everyone has the same eye color, having different eye color in that town is not normal.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? So normality goes, it's like a real flowy, real fluid kind of feeling depending on your environment. It's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Like what's the norm?
The norm in that first town was you have different colored eyes.
Yeah.
The norm in the second town is you have the same colored eyes.
Yeah.
That's the norm.
Or that's very specific color eyes.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. When you make a group of people and they all have something and 70% of them have some specific thing, that thing is normal.
Yeah, normal. So, okay, so what are you saying? Are you thinking or saying or whatever that you feel like nowadays normal is kind of looked at as bad? Or?
Yes. If you're not normal, then that means you're different, and different is bad.
It's bad in that way. Yeah. It always say, and obviously we're different, so we go through different things, but it lands on me that it really 100% depends on what the context is. Yeah. So if it's like, oh my gosh, you like someone, okay, so I saw in the news this girl, they said her name, I forget, but anyway, she's a freshman in high school. She's on the varsity track team, varsity softball team, gets a 4.6 GPA, right? This little girl. And I think she's like one of the top sprinters on the team or whatever. Mm-hmm. None of that is normal.
Nope.
But it's abnormal, we'll call it, in a good way. Yes. So if someone's like, wait a second, they read this girl's paper.
So your point is, which I think this is your point, normal, people think that means good, and not normal means bad, when I don't think that. I think that there is such a thing as normal, though, right? Yeah. There is such a thing. Most girls freshman year are not making the varsity track team, and they're not making the varsity whatever. So that's what normal is. So if your daughter, when she gets to high school and she doesn't make varsity track, you can be like, oh, that's okay. That's normal. Yeah. And she shouldn't be like, so I'm just normal?
Right.
Or if she does make it, and you're like, whoa, you made it. That's not normal. Wait, I'm not normal?
Oh,
you see what I'm saying? People hype this word a little too much. Yeah. And I think there's a benefit to knowing and understand what normal is.
Yeah.
And there's a benefit to sometimes saying, hey, I don't want to be normal. And there's a benefit to sometimes saying, I want to be normal.
I understand.
That's where I want to get to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right on. It's like a political party. There could be a political party. There should be a political party that's called normal. Like, I'm just a normal person. You got these extreme views over here. You other people got some extreme views over there. I'm not extreme on any of this shit. Yeah. What's my political party? Normal.
Yeah.
So I'm just a normal person. And actually, because I'm American, I'm a normal American.
Yeah.
We could probably get with 80% accuracy what a normal American thinks politically. Mm-hmm. And then there'd be 20% of fringe elements yelling and screaming and going crazy. Yeah. And the way we have it right now, there's no normal. There's only one. There's only either Democrat or Republican, and there's an overlap for sure that they could find common ground on, but because of the areas that don't overlap, they just hate each other.
Yeah, it's essentially this.
I'm going to make a political party called Normal, but see, people would be so pissed at that.
Well,
because anyone that is not normal would be mad at you for saying that you're normal and they're not.
Yeah. Do you ever think, and this is what I think, and I could be wrong because I know about maybe 10 people to that degree. So I think on the internet, anything that makes the news, I think in everyday life, I think, of course, there's two parties. Of course, there's some overlap. But I think even within the two parties, they have different philosophies, different approaches to how the country should be or run or, all this stuff. But I think they're pretty normal, even by normal standards.
Most people are normal.
I think so.
When I travel around this country, and I travel around this country, and I meet people from all over this country, from the blue states, from the red states, from the most liberal areas to the most conservative areas. I meet them all. Most of those people from those extreme places are normal. Same here, man. So, and I don't go to all. But there's no political party for them to join. Yeah, they can't vote normal. Like if normal doesn't get a vote.
Yeah, isn't that like the nature of a party nowadays? Anyway,
nowadays it
in
is,
general, sure. Where it's like, hey, if you just join the because everyone's so different in all kinds of different ways. There's going to be 5 or 6 issues that it's like, what do you feel? But I feel it's this, and then there's levels within the issues, and it's all going to fall within like a realm of like, oh, I see why you think that. I see why you think that. But if you don't know the person, and you're only listening to the extreme people on the internet who's yelling the loudest, all this stuff or whatever, it'll seem like that. But I think in real life, just like how you said, in real life, you might have a politically charged person, but they'll probably even be normal.
Yeah, they're more normal than they think. I mean, they might be not normal on one little political issue, but most of them, they're pretty normal.
Yeah.
So, but they have no one to vote for.
It's very hard.
Right? You can't vote for someone. There's no normal person to vote for. If I was in a political party, I would be in the normal one. I'd be like, yep, I'm normal. I'm just average. Like I'm an average person.
Yeah.
Hey, should we have no taxes? No, you got to pay taxes to pay for infrastructure. Should we have extremely high taxes? No, I just want normal taxes.
Yeah, normal taxes.
That's how hey, should we dump all of our money into defense? No, but we need to have a good defense. Okay, cool. How much should we put into defense? Normal amount. You know what I'm saying? Like these people are crazy.
Yeah.
They're not normal.
It's not normal.
There's no one for a normal American to vote for.
Yeah.
And guess what? When someone is acting normal, they get called abnormal by the extremes on both sides. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. That's what normally happens. All right, next. The enlightened person acts with moderation. Boom. That's what they're telling you, to act normal. Act with moderation. Avoid anger. Develop confidence. Sacrifice brings good fortune, freedom from error. Again, beautiful advice for any human in any situation. Act with moderation. Avoid anger. Develop confidence. And if you sacrifice, you're going to get fortune. There you go. Great advice. Next, an enlightened person sees the good action of his fellows. Imitate them and correct their mistakes to make progress toward a goal. Okay. You see someone doing good? You should do that thing too. Correcting their mistakes. If you're doing that for yourself, so if I'm watching Echo and I see how his life is going and I can imitate those good things and I can correct whatever mistakes you're making, I can learn from it. That's all they're saying. Great advice. Imitate people that are doing good, and if they're doing something that's messed up, correct it when you do it yourself. Next, do not use force, but rely on fair judges. Know your goal, tell your supporters. The idea of, look, if I have to impose and force you to do this, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. If I have to force you to do this, there is something wrong. So don't let that happen. Did you see that PBS clip? They had Dr. FuXi going through Baltimore. I think it was Baltimore. Anyways, and they're trying to convince people. Did you see this viral video clip? And this guy's like, hey, if this vaccine was good, you wouldn't be trying to force me to do this right now. You wouldn't be trying to pay me to do this thing. I would just want to do it. The guy's like, there's something suspect about that. And Fauci's trying to, he tries for a little bit to convince him. And then he just moves on. He just gets met with full resistance. And he can't, here's the interesting thing. I've been talking a lot about this explanation effort meter, which is how, if it's really hard for me to explain something to you, it might not be such a great idea. So listen, if I'm trying to get you to do something and I can't, and you're presenting arguments to me, and I can't overcome them, maybe my idea is wrong. Yeah. Maybe my idea is wrong. So rethink it. And you can see when this happens. And you see it on that video. Because you got FuXi's trying to convince us, trying to explain to him. And the person's like, well, doesn't this not actually prevent you from getting the disease? And he's like, well, it kind of does. Well, kind of? It's like it's one of these things. Yeah. So be careful for yourself. When it's really hard for you to explain something, some idea, some plan, if I'm like, okay, Echo, here's what we're going to do. And you ask me a question and I have a hard time answering it, or I can't answer it. And you ask me another question, I can't answer it. And you ask me another question. I'm like, hey, Echo, I want to sell these widgets. And I'm like, well, and you say, well, how much do they cost to make? And I'm like, well, it's not important about the cost. And you're like, well, it kind of is, because if you don't make a good price point on them, and then we can't sell them to anybody and no one will buy them, then we make something we can't sell. Don't you think that's wrong? And I'm like, no, but they're really cool. Yeah. Like, be careful when your explanation effort meter is in the red. It shouldn't be that hard to explain things. This is what happens with public transportation. Like in California, the public transportation sucks. Yeah. It's not good. They can try and get you to use it, but it's not good. So as much as they try and convince you, it's not effective because it's not good. Whereas in London, it's easier to get into town if you take the tube. In New York City, it's easier to get around because the subway, because there's no traffic on the subway. So if something is good, you just voluntarily do it. That's the way things are supposed to be. That's the way a new methodology should happen. Oh, this way that I'm trying to get you to do something is better. Let me show it to you. Now listen, if I'm trying to get you to use a new process in our company, there might be a time where you're less efficient at this new process. Like, hey, you've been using some video editor, and I say, hey, Echo, there's a new video editor out, and it's way better. And you look at the components of it, and you say, oh, yeah, that is better. So now you adopt it. For a little while, you're going to be worse. Yeah. Because you haven't developed the skills yet. Right. Over time, you're going to get better. That can happen in any organization. Yeah. You start doing something new, efficiency is going to go down. Yeah. But if efficiency doesn't get back up, there's something wrong with me. If I can't show you this new video editor where you're like, oh yeah, that's a really easier way to do that, and oh yeah, that's much more effective, and then you go, okay, give it to me. I want to do it. But if I'm like, hey, no, here, all you have to do is click these 47 buttons and you can copy the video thing, and you're like, well, I can do it with one. Click on the other thing. Yeah, but see, I'm trying to explain something. It's real hard. Yeah. So just be careful. Pay attention to your explanation effort meter. A ruler issues commands that become well known. Do not create a relationship with powerful persons or ideas. Exert discipline. It's always good to exert discipline. I was kind of wondering about do not create a relationship with powerful persons or ideas. And I think what I took away from that is don't be married to your ideas. Right? Don't just be like, no, this is my idea. Don't fall in love with your own plan. And be careful about when your boss has a plan. You don't want to be a yes man. Good advice. Unite with others, make sacrifices, and act with correct persistence to achieve a goal. Boom. Act with sincerity, avoid suspicion, and join with a wise leader. Wisdom or common sense, you be the judge. I think it's both. Gradual change nourished by the receptive earth produces a path to virtue. The enlightened person persists in small matters to gain a fortune. Yep, little steps. That's what we're doing. We're doing little steps. The enlightened person gains progress through courage. Adversity needs risks to achieve fortune. Speaking alone is ineffective, is ineffective. But those are great. The enlightened person gains progress through courage. You got to take some risks to achieve fortune. Good advice. Truth is never exhausted, yet never the same. The enlightened person gains insight into truth and assists others to achieve it. If the truth is not heeded, bad fortune follows. What I like about that is I like the idea of assisting other people to achieve truth as opposed to ramming truth down their throat or punching them in the face with the truth, because that doesn't help, doesn't work. If that worked, then you could go on Twitter and you could change people's minds by presenting the facts. The enlightened person appreciates past experience and present opportunity. Confidence and progress only after change is past. Appreciate past experience and present opportunity. Yep. I'm happy where I've been. Hey, be thankful that you went through some struggle and look for opportunities right now. The wise person aligns himself with established order. It's going back to it. Hey, be normal. Just be normal. It's a good place to start. It's a good place to start. The enlightened person seeks to improve himself and take advantage of the unpredictable. Great advice. Oh, there's a lot of mayhem going on? Cool. Take advantage of it. The enlightened person turns his back upon the larger situation and loses self-awareness. This is the opposite of some of these things that talk about the small goal. This is saying if you turn your back on the larger situation, you're going to lose self-awareness. It's not going to go good. You have to pay attention to the larger situation, the strategic vision. The enlightened person improves life through good conduct and correct persistence. Boom. So yes, we want you to follow these things. Intelligence combined with activity. This is the zenith of achievement. The enlightened person trusts his own judgment and makes progress. Do not fear decline, but shine like the sun. There's going to be setbacks, everybody. It's okay, shine like the sun. The wise person is clear-minded and not detained by disputes. Isn't it nice to just move on? Yeah. Some little issue, some little spat. Maybe it's even a big issue. Maybe it's a big disagreement. Cool. Move on. Mm-hmm. The enlightened person acts gradually toward small goals. Consistent theme in here. The wise person exchanges ideas with others to find cooperation. Open your mind. Open your mind. Solid. Rulers meet with their subordinates. Great leadership advice. Advantage in cooperation, correct persistence, and the company of fellows. Yep, join a team and hang out with your team. Meet with your subordinates. The wise person develops sound restraints and decides proper conduct. Extreme limitation, though, is no virtue. So this is getting discipline equals freedom and dichotomy into one little sentence, right? Develop sound restraints and you'll figure out what direction to go into. You'll know the proper conduct when you have the right restraints. When you have discipline, it's going to point you in the right direction. But extreme limitation, if you go overboard with something, it's not going to be good. It's no virtue. From a distance, the wise person gains understanding. Oh, detach, everybody. From a distance, the wise person gains understanding. Yes, please detach. Take a step back. Get some altitude. Get some perspective. Moderate disputes and must avoid rigidity. Don't be stuck in your ways. Open your mind. Free your mind. As occasionally I'm reading the thunder above, mountain below. Attention to detail. As the mountain remains tranquil in activity, so the wise person conducts himself with dignity and control. Don't be an emotional idiot. Be remorseful in losses and frugal in expenses. When birds fly too high, none hear their song. Stay grounded. You know what I'm saying?
Is that what they mean by the expression "down to earth"? You know, people down to earth.
Person's down to earth. Yeah.
You know, I never knew what that meant. Down to earth. I thought it meant like he's real like in touch with reality kind of a thing.
I think that is a pretty good. It's close.
I think it's more
right?
like humble, right? He's humble.
It's definitely humble.
They're not trying to. Yeah.
It's definitely humble. But you could be. Let's say I was like, "Hey, Echo, you want to go to Vegas with me?" And you're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm flying up there on my jet tomorrow, so just meet me up there when you can with your jet. You know what I mean?
Right.
It would be like I was not down to earth.
Yeah, so that's what I thought it. Well, then again, I don't know. Maybe right now I don't know really what it means, or maybe it's both. I don't know. I thought down to earth was like someone who's really easy to understand and relate with. But then what I thought I understood later, currently is that down to earth means like humble, in touch with like basically a king in his tower is going to be talking about king stuff. Meanwhile, everyone else is talking about commoner stuff.
Right.
And
so both things that you said are correct.
Yeah.
Down to earth means like, easy to understand, humble, not talking about like, well, the thing is when you get a private jet, you got to really focus. You know what I mean? Like that's that's not very down to earth.
No.
Yeah. So down to earth, yes, it's humble. It's also like relatable, right?
Oh, so it's both then.
Yeah, it's both.
It's like humble in a very specific, relatable way, easy to get along with kind of a deal.
Yep, totally. Yep, that's down to earth. It's a very positive thing. All right, we got 2 more of these hexagrams to cover. The enlightened person defends against forthcoming adversity. Great idea. Mike Glover approves.
Hell yeah.
Progress only in small matters. Confusion is imminent. Okay, so there's going to be some confusion out there. And last one. The wise person attends his position and progress carefully. Progress with great vigilance. Yep, pay attention. There you go. You can see that a lot of these things are common sense. But here's the thing. If these things are such common sense, why are we not doing these things? Right? And it's interesting that psychologically, even if we flip a coin and it tells us to do the right thing, that kind of pushes us in the right direction, to take action, right? To trust, like all these things, like that little flip of the coin, or in this case, the drawing of the yarrow sticks, or the drawing of these this divination form will push you in the right direction. My advice would be, don't wait for the flip of the coin. Just do the right things. And you actually know what they are. It's common sense. But it's common sense versus ego. It's common sense versus laziness. It's common sense versus habit. Don't wait for the flip of a coin. These are things that you actually know. So just do them.
I know why we don't do them.
Laziness, ego, habit, what?
These are all like within the, in the spirit of Jocko simplifying things or whatever. We're distracted from it. That's why. So, and there's a bunch of things that can distract you for sure, but the main ones are entertainment or your mood, right? Like how you feel. So ego, I guess, is not mood, but like how you feel. So working out, for example, everyone, if you're on the internet, or let's say if you're in America, pretty much everyone knows that working out is better for you than not working out. Everyone knows that factually. Then why doesn't everyone work out? Like everyone.
Yeah. Lazy.
I'd say
lack of discipline.
I'm sure laziness is in there for sure.
It's in there for sure.
But
think about it. You're actually going to be a better human being. You're going to live longer. You're going to be healthier.
Yeah.
Everything in your world's going to be better, and you don't do it. There's a lack of discipline, laziness. Yeah. It's a horrible thing.
Yeah. So, and
hey, occasionally there's someone out there that like doesn't have time. They got 3 kids. They're a single mom. They're working 2.5 jobs. Like, I get it. They're not working out. I get it.
Oh, I get all reasons why people. I get why that's the case. But here's the thing. I'm just saying, what keeps someone from making the decision to not work out versus to work out? Because we all know now, a workout can be 10 minutes versus 0 minutes. It can even be 5 minutes versus 0 minutes. Like we know, like you do burpees as many as you can for 5 minutes.
Yep.
That's
a workout.
A workout. And it's going to depend. So we all know this, right? So, but what is it that makes us make the decision, the actual conscious decision down on the street level to be like, I'm not going to do that right now. Or to not even think about it.
You seem to know. What's your answer?
Being distracted. You're distracted by something, whether it be your feeling, your mood, your something else.
Here's where
you're not paying attention.
Here's where I kind of don't agree with you, at least on some level. There's times where distraction would mean, oh man, I forgot to work out. Like, I was watching Instagram.
Right.
Oh, I fell into like 9 YouTube movies and now I didn't work out. Yeah. That can happen, allegedly, right? It can happen. You can let the window close. But let's face it, when you're letting the window close, and if you don't remember what I'm talking about, we used to talk about the jiu-jitsu window is closing. Like, hey, class is at 4:30 and you're trying to wrap something up. And if you don't get it done by 3:35, you're going to be late. And then you just kind of let that window close and you're not training.
Yeah.
So when you let the window close, for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's distraction would mean I forgot about it. I don't think that happens.
And you are correct, but I'm talking about on a deeper level. So I'm saying, for real, on the conscious decision-making level down on the streets, your mood will distract you from the idea that knowing the right thing to do is to work out. But what would make you think, hey, right now, what's driving my decision is causing me to do the wrong thing, literally the wrong thing. And it's your mood. So to accommodate this mood is distracting me from a better decision.
Yeah,
if
you want to use that form of distraction, then I understand what you're saying.
I do want to use that form.
Okay, you're allowed to use it. You can use it because let's face it. There's maybe you once in a while you get distracted where you go, oh dang, it's already freaking 6:45 in the morning, and I had to jump on for an email, and then I started watching a YouTube video, and then I went down the rabbit hole, and I got literally distracted where I didn't. But I actually can tell you this: I have never in my life gotten distracted and missed a workout.
Yeah. So
I might have chosen and said like, bro, it's leg day, and I'm gonna watch more YouTube videos right now. We're gonna put this thing off.
Yeah, I get it.
But it didn't happen in a distraction. To me is a subconscious thing where it's like, oh, I got distracted.
Yeah.
Oh, I was driving and texting.
Yeah.
That's distracted. I hit a freaking tree.
Yeah, I get it, and that's true.
Wasn't texting, and now I missed a workout. That didn't happen, bro.
I know, man. All right, I get it, and I am not saying that you're wrong, but in the spirit of understanding, not I'm right and you're not right, or I'm more right than you. That's not the spirit. The spirit is in the spirit of understanding. So distraction is more.
If that's the spirit.
It's on the level.
You can go with it. All right. What made sense is when you said you can allow yourself to be, you can choose to be distracted instead of choosing to do what you should be doing.
But I think on some kind of other mental level, it's more of the idea, and think of it as a concept, right? The idea of keeping your eyes on the prize, right? You know that idea?
Yeah.
So keeping the eyes on the prize, right? Oh, okay. So the prize is the benefits of working out, right? And even if you're not a fitness person, and in fact, you've never worked out in your life, you're going to know at least one benefit of working out, right? Yeah. You're going to know it's better to do it than to not do it. People are going to know that stuff. So let's say that's the prize, the benefits, right? If you take your eyes off that prize and look at another prize, your eyes kind of got distracted from the prize. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So on that level is what I mean, like by distracted or whatever.
Yeah. That's why I said in that form you can use it, and I understand what you're saying, and you're correct. In that kind of like real minor kind of way, you're right.
So hey, I'll take it. Jocko. Thank you. Let's not get distracted. Let's try not. Bro, it's hard. It's hard because even in the real, I should say, direct way, it's easy to get distracted. And it's on purpose too.
That's what I think. You choose to get distracted. Like you can easily choose to sit down and watch some YouTube videos or flip through your Instagram, right? Yeah. And then you add on top of that fact that the dopamine is getting in you, and it's just dopamine, and then now you're just like more dopamine, no dopamine.
You do this, right? Or I don't know, maybe you don't. I'm pretty sure you said you did this. So like if, for example, you're gonna do some hard workout thing, and you're like, you don't want to, I don't know, some 20 rep squat or I don't know, some hard workout thing, and you're like looking around,
stretch another round, they'll do a warm up on the bike.
Let me let me check that email on my phone real quick. It needs,
I'm hoping that there's a freaking tragedy at one of my companies that I gotta go deal with, so I don't have to do your 20 rep squat workout.
Bro, I'll find little things that like need to be done. Like I'll be like, oh man, I'm there's like this weird routine before a workout if I'm really not feeling like it. Like, so I'll drink a water, right? So while I'm drinking water, I'm like, oh wait, shoot, that little corner needs to be cleaned real quick, So, and it kind of like, it's like a form of purposeful distraction and procrastination mixed together.
Totally. Well, the I Ching says, don't procrastinate. So
just take action.
Good advice. All right. Well, we want to stay on the path. We don't want to get distracted. Let's make sure we're fueling the path correctly. Get yourself some Jocko Fuel, jockofuel.com. Get yourself some of these energy drinks, which are a godsend.
Yep.
I hear there's looks like the Nobel Prize is going to be awarded to the team at Jocko Fuel for making these. They weren't 100% sure until they made the ready to drink milk, and now it's just they realize that the recognition is deserved. So get yourself some Jocko Fuel energy drinks that have no downside. No downside. It's not like, well, I need energy right now. I'm gonna sacrifice future energy for current energy. Yeah. That's what the other guys do. Yeah. They sacrifice future energy for current energy. We will give you current energy and you'll still have the future energy. No crash. Mm-hmm. Nootropics, 95 milligrams of caffeine, sweetened with monk fruit. Tastes freaking delicious. There you go. Get some of that. Get yourself some milk. Get on the milk train. Oh, yeah.
That RTD one just keeps paying dividends. You see what I'm saying?
And, you know, you want to talk about getting distracted. When it comes to, like, for me, the effort meter for food prep, I have a high bar for what I'm going to put into it, right? Like you want to talk to Leif Babin and you like, hey, you want to eat dinner? He's like, yeah, man. He's like, hey, I'll fire up the grill at 2:00. I'll start marinating food tonight. He's going to be on that grill for 2 hours. He's putting effort into it. I'm not doing that. It's not me. Yeah. It's not my thing. It's not my John Dudley. Yeah. Dude, this dude will have a plan like 3, 4, 5 days in advance. Yeah. He's turning on the Traeger at 9:00 in the morning. He's turning on the Traeger. He's putting the meat. It takes 6 hours to cook. You know what I'm saying? Yep. None of this. I'm not doing any of this. I'm opening up tin chicken and putting mayonnaise in it. It took me 30 seconds to make my meal. Cool. So I have a very high bar as far as the effort that I'm going to put into to prep food. The RTD milk is a complete game changer. It's the healthiest thing you can just rock and roll right now. Yeah. And just get stronger while having dessert.
Yep, it's true.
JockoFuel.com. Also, you can go to Wawa, go to Vitamin Shop, go to the Military Commerce. It's Hannaford, Dash stores in Maryland, Wake Fern, ShopRite, HEB in Tejas, Meijer. Those are the big retailers. Hey, thanks for going into HEB. Thanks for going into Meijer. We're dominating in there. Dominating in the Vitamin Shop as well. So I don't think the results are out yet, but we're either the number 1 brand or the number 2 brand in Vitamin Shop, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. Some people voted for that. It was a voting situation. Brand v. brand.
Yeah. So it's one, and I saw that too. Mm-hmm. And so I went on there and...
Did you vote?
Yeah. Well, of course. Yeah. I have a very strong opinion. And actually, when I looked at it, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm voting. And maybe I overthought this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Or maybe I did. Maybe I put the perfect amount of thought into it. So I'm looking, right, and it's like it was ready to drink, right? Mm-hmm. RTD was like, and the Go was in that. So I'm like, cool. And I'm checking my bias, because I'm a responsible human being. In my mind. So I scroll and I see who else is here though. What else? I'm looking at this other one.
Just like we're winning.
I was like, bro, I would never vote for any of these things. Yeah. I would only vote for this one, the healthy one, the good one.
And we're winning.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right. So it's I think it's justified is what I'm saying. So it's not one of those things where it's kind of like, hey, like it sucks, but hey, I like you, Jocko. But it's like it's factually better than all this other stuff. So good on you.
JockoFuel.com. Go get it. OriginUSA.com. Also, you're going to need some jiu-jitsu in your life, right? Because jiu-jitsu is one of the magic 8-ball solutions to problems is train jiu-jitsu. Yep. We encourage it. We also make jeans. We make hunt gear. And we make it all in America, which is a big deal. It's a big deal because there is ecological disasters going on in the world. And there's slavery, modern-day slavery. That's happening right now in a sweatshop in China. And you can go support that. You can go support enslaving another human being. Or you can go to OriginUSA.com and you can get some American-made, the highest of quality gear for your entire life. T-shirts, sweatshirts, boots, hoodies, jiu-jitsu gis. Look, can you wear your gi to work? You can, right? To me, it's sort of like wearing being a Buddhist monk at a university and dressing like that. I don't think you should. I'm not going to hold it against you. It's probably the one kind of outside the box uniform that if I saw you wearing, I'd be like, you know what, we'll go with it, right? You want to wear that gi? Probably wear a black gi would be less obvious than a white gi. Yeah. As far as going to work in, depending on where you work. Yeah. I guess if you worked in a hospital, you could wear the white gi and that might look pretty dope. But if you worked in some kind of a financial industry, I'd probably wear just a black gi, just a little bit more subdued. You know what I mean?
It's subdued, all right.
You're going into a meeting, you don't want to be standing out with a bright white gi.
No.
Just only with that black gi.
Yeah.
You wear a rash guard underneath,
Yeah.
That's
way more normal.
If you wear your gi to work, tag me in a picture. I want to see it. I want to see what, I just want to see kind of maybe in a little video.
Jiu-jitsu instructor as a job does not count.
Jiu-jitsu instructor as a job does not count. Yeah. You got to have some kind of normal job.
Yeah.
Oh.
Quote unquote normal
Let's
job.
face it, jiu-jitsu instructor, is that a normal job? Nope. Yeah. Nope. There's no box.
Right.
Like when you go to a survey, it doesn't say jiu-jitsu instructor. There's no box that says, it says, are you in service industry? Are you in the financial industry? There's no box on there that says, are you in the jiu-jitsu instructor industry? It's not normal. It's not a normal job.
Yeah, they would have to kind of, in a way, kind of shoehorn it into another industry like
fitness,
sport. Yeah, even fitness that doesn't tag. Like sports,
right.
maybe,
Good
but
point.
Not everyone competes. So it's like,
you're just a jiu-jitsu instructor.
Yeah,
it's not normal.
Not
we
normal.
support you though.
We support.
Get yourself an Origin USA gi.
Best skis in the world, by the way. OriginUSA.com. Also, Jocko has a store. It's called Jocko Store. This is where, hey man, on this path, it's hard. It's hard, but there's other people. There's other people on the path with you. Anyway, if you want to represent, it's where you can get your shirts and hats and hoodies and a lot of good stuff on there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, check that out.
That's what we've been hearing.
Yes, it's the word on the street. That's the reports from the field, as it were.
Subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to Jocko Underground. Go subscribe to the YouTube channels. Get Psychological Warfare. Go to flipsidecanvas.com. Get some cool stuff to hang on your wall from Dakota Meyer. Get one of the books that I've written or published. Go to extremeownership.com and learn how to lead. This is not something you learn in a day. It's something you got to follow up with. That's why we made that online training academy. Go check that out. And that is, of course, through Echelon Front, which is our leadership consultancy. Just got back from Gettysburg, the hallowed grounds at Gettysburg. The thing was sold out. That's the thing you got to watch out for. The stuff that we do is sold out. And so if you want to come to one of our live events, you have to register early in order to go. So go to echelonfront.com. Check out our live events, or check out if you need leadership consulting in your team. You got to go there as well, and we will take care of you. And if you want to help service members, active and retired, you want to help their families, you want to help Gold Star families, check out Mark Lee's mom, Mama Lee. She's got a charity organization that is doing an incredible job helping our warriors and their families. If you want to donate or you want to get involved, go to americasmightywarriors.org. And also, don't forget about Micah Fink, who apparently right now is skinning a mountain lion with his bare hands that he killed with a tree branch while he was on horseback. And he's showing veterans and first responders. I think he's got first responders in there now too. He's showing them how to find themselves by losing themselves out in the wilderness. heroesandhorses.org. Go check that out. If you want to connect with us, Echo Charles at Echo Charles, Jocko Willink at Jocko Willink. But be careful, because it's a distraction platform. It's meant to take your eyes off the prize. Don't let that algorithm grab a hold of you. And thanks to our military men and women in uniform that are out there around the world sacrificing their freedom to protect ours. Thank you for what you do. And the same goes to our police, law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, dispatchers, correctional officers, Border Patrol, Secret Service, and all first responders. You all also make sacrifices every day to keep us and our families safe. And we thank you for what you do. And everyone else out there. Speaking of what you do, you know what to do. You know what to do. You know what the ancient wisdom says. You know what the common sense thing is. And you don't need a coin toss or a palm reading or a tarot card to tell you what to do. You already know. And that is to get up and go get after it. And until next time, this is Echo and Jocko